So I've got all the parts laid out in front of me. I've got a Doors CD going in the CD player. So let me put the camera back on the tripod and let's do this and put this vintage receiver back together. So I'll just move all this lot out of the way, and then we shall put the plates back on and start putting all the front back on it. And I have bought some knobs for this receiver because it has got 2 knobs missing off the pots on this one. So when I was looking on the computer the other day, I found a little job lot of amplifier knobs. Now the seller has no idea what amplifier or receiver these knobs are from. So it was just a little random set of 4 knobs, and 2 of them do look very similar to the knobs of this Pioneer. So they was only cheap. I had a little bid and I won them, and they turned up yesterday. So at the end of the video I shall open up that packet and we'll see what knobs I've got and see what they look like on this old Pioneer, because they will look better on it than it having no knobs on it. And I still will try and get the correct knobs for this Pioneer when I can find them. And then the ones that turned up yesterday I can have as spares for when I get other amplifiers and receivers that have knobs missing. And I really did not pay a lot for them. So I'm going to keep my eyes out on the computer for other little job lots like that, and then start putting myself a little spares department together, because it would be handy to have a little pot full of a load of knobs, and then when I get amplifiers with no knobs on them, I'll have something that I can just use till I can find the correct one. Right, so I've zoomed the camera in a little bit and I'm going to start on this side. So first of all I need to put this little plate back on here, because there's one plate this side and one plate the other side to go back on. So I'll just line up the little switch levers and pull them through, and then do the same with the pots, because the pots like lock onto it with them little tabs there. So just line it up and pull the pots through. That's it, that went on then. So I should get the screws and put the 4 screws back into the switches, and then that plate will hold itself back on. And it's the little short screws that I need, because there is 2 length screws on this. Some are short and some are long. The short ones went in the switches and the longer ones went into the chassis. I remember that when I took them out. So I'll just get myself a little Phillips bit out of my set, and then we shall start putting the screws back in this. So that's it, screwdriver's done, I've got the screws, let's start putting them in it. And actually I'm looking at that one and looking at the screws in my hand. I've done it wrong already. That is one of the long screws. So I've picked up 3 short screws and 1 long screw. So don't do what I'm doing it wrong already. So as you can see there, I've got 3 short screws and 1 long screw. So let's get rid of that long screw and swap it for a short screw. And then we'll do a take 2 on screwing these switches back together. So here we go. I am now back with the correct length screws. And there really isn't much difference in the length of the screws. There was only a couple of millimetres between them, but that might be enough that if you put the long ones into the switches, it might interfere with the mechanism. So make sure you put the short screws into the switches. and then the slightly longer screws go into the chassis and hold the other plate on that goes over the front of these plates. So let's just get the last screw into the switches, and then I've just got to get the lock nut and put it on the on-off switch at the other end. And then this little part here is back together, and we'll go over and do the same on the other side. So I'll just tighten them screws up, just nip them up. So them screws are all nice and tight, and the switches feel like they're working nicely. So I just need to put the lock nut onto this on-off switch at the end here, and then this side will be all nicely back together. So I'll just spin that lock nut on there, and then I'll get my little adjustable and just nip it up nice and tight. There you go, that's nicely back on there. So that's that side all nicely back together. So I shall move the camera over so you can see this side, and then I shall do exactly the same again and put this side back together. So just do the same, just put the plate on, slide it onto the pots, pull everything through so it locks on nice, and then start putting the little Phillips screws back into the switches. And I will be staying up late tonight because at 12 tonight there is a Pioneer A400 amplifier finishing on the computer. Now it doesn't work, it doesn't power up or do anything, but it does look in really nice condition, so I'm going to stay up and have a bid on it. Because I've never had one of them Pioneer A400s, and they are meant to be a bit of a legend, and from what I've read about them, they are meant to have a really good sound. So I'm really interested in trying to get hold of one because I want to have a listen to it, and I also think it'd be quite a good one to get for the channel, because any of these amplifiers that have got a bit of a legend status, I want to try and track one down and get my hands on it. So I will be staying up late tonight to have a little bid on that Pioneer A400, and hopefully I will be the winning bidder. But that is at 12 tonight, and today's Monday. So who is really on eBay that late at night listing items thinking it is a good idea for their items to finish at midnight on a Monday? I'd get it if it was Saturday. If your item finished Saturday night at midnight, yeah, that's not a bad time for it to finish, 'cause people are still up. People might have had a few beers, and then they might get a bit carried away with their bidding, and it could even make more money. But on a Monday night, most people are in bed, so the chances are the amplifier tonight might not do that well. That is why I'm going to stay up and go after it. So I'll just get the last screw back into these switches, and then they are all nicely screwed back in. And then it's just do the same with the lock nut on the selector, and then I will be ready to put the next plate on. So I'm just going to run along this lot just to make sure that I've done them all up tight. So that's it, they are all tight. So let me get my little pot of bits and find the little lock nut. There it is. So I just put the lock nut back on. just spin it up, and then I should get me adjustable spanner and just make sure it's nice and tight. There you go, that is nice and tight. So just pop that little part on there. So I shall zoom the camera out. No, that's in, that's better. Zoom the camera out, move it a little bit so you can see the whole front. And then I shall put the lock nuts back on the other pots and then put the other plate back on. So I'll just put these little nuts and washers back on the pots and do them up tight. So that's the first one on. Let's get the second one on. Third one on. And get the last one on, and then I'll get me adjustable spanner and just nip them all up tight. So that's it, all the lock nuts are back on and all the lock nuts are nice and tight. So now we are ready to get the next plate back on the front of this nice old vintage Pioneer. So you just line the plate up nicely and just watch out that you aren't trapping any wires or anything when you put this plate on. And then you have to get this little radio bit back on that little metal lip that it runs along. So I'll just get my little screwdriver so I can get hold of the string, and then you just pull the string forward if I can get hold of it somewhere. There you go, so you just get the string and then slide your little screwdriver along it and it'll pop into that side. So that's it, the string's back in the lip. And then you just get the screwdriver, get hold of the string again and do the same this side. But you have to pop that little radio bit back onto that lip there. So you just pull it out and it's got like a groove in it that goes on that lip and it runs up and down on the metal lip. So that's it, it just slides on like that. So that is the radio part back on. So now we just push the plate into position. So that's it, that plate is back on now. And what you have to do is just like get a screw in somewhere to hold it into place, and then you sort of have to like pull the chassis back into place a bit as you put the screws in, because what happens is where you take this plate off, you are taking all the strength out of the front of the chassis, so it does kind of flex a little bit and nothing lines up. You just have to manipulate it a little bit to get the screws back in, but it will all line up fine. It's not a problem, it's just what happens when you take this front plate off. So you'll see now what I mean. If I line this first screw up and screw it in, I'm not going to do it really tight, I'll just screw it in a bit to hold the plate on. So I'll just do it like that, and then I'm just going to check everything to make sure I've got nothing catching, nothing that's going to sort of stop the plate going back. Make sure everything feels okay and nothing is like no wires or nothing are trapped anywhere. And no, that all feels good. So you'll see now, I'll get another screw and I'll have to sort of bend this side of the chassis a little bit, lift it up, because the front of the amplifier is like sagged a little bit. So I'm just going to like bend it up into place and get this screw in, and then it'll all start lining up properly. So that's it, it's gone. And then once you have got a screw in either side, it will all just line up now. So it's just a case of going along and banging all the screws in. And also, you got to remember that I have got the base plate off of this Pioneer, and that base plate screws onto the chassis in a lot of places. So that probably is a big part of the strength of this Pioneer. So when you take that base plate off and you take this front plate off, you're taking a load of strength away from this Pioneer, so that is why it sags and moves about a little bit. But it went back together easy enough, and as soon as you start getting some screws back in this front plate, the old Pioneer starts getting its strength back. And hopefully I will do the same and start getting my strength back, 'cause it's only 9 o'clock and I am already feeling a bit tired. I was up at 6 o'clock this morning for work, and I had a really busy day at work today. I have not stopped. So I think I better make myself a few nice strong cups of coffee to keep myself awake. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it until 20 past 12 when that Pioneer A400 finishes. And I really want to try and get it, because I've heard so much about how good they are meant to sound. I really want to get my hands on one so I can check it out for myself and see if they really do sound as good as what people say they do. And that one tonight, finishing at 20 past 12, it really might not make much money, innit? Because everyone will be in bed and might not bother with it. So it might be a bargain, that little Pioneer tonight. Especially as it is not working. Apparently it does not even turn on, it doesn't do anything. So people might not go after that tonight, innit? Because I will try and get one of them Pioneers, but I will have to get a non-working one. I'm not just going to go and buy one that is all singing and dancing, because I've been looking at them a little bit, and they do make a little bit of money, them Pioneers. When they are all working properly, people really want them. So they do kind of make a fair bit of money. So I need to get one that isn't working, nice and cheap, and then bring it back to life. And the one tonight really does look like a good one for me to get my hands on. So that is all the screws back in that plate. I've just run along and checked them, make sure they are all nice and tight, and then we shall put the face plate on. Now I've got to put these two little metal washers on first, because they go one either side behind the face plate. So one goes there, and the other one goes over here on the other side. So that is it, the face plate is ready to go back on now. I did give it a little clean of the glass and that. It's had a little clean, this face plate. It didn't really need much cleaning because it was really nice when I got it. This Pioneer has been cleaned up really nice by whoever owned it before me. So there's just two little washers, two little lock nuts go on here. I'll just put them on and I'll just do them loose. Same on the other side, and then there is two screws that go on the top. Once them two screws are in, I shall tighten these lock nuts up. So I'll just get the two little gold screws out of my little pot, and then one goes in the top this side, and one goes in the top this side. So that's it, the faceplate is back on. I just need to tighten up the lock nuts. So I'll just get me adjustable spanner and just tighten both these lock nuts up. That's that one, nice and tight. Just do the same on this one. Right, nice and tight. So that is the faceplate back on. So I'm going to turn it over now and put the base plate on it. I'll just adjust the camera a little bit so you can see what's going on. Move it about a bit, zoom it out. There you go. So let's get the base plate and whack it on. And it just like slides under the faceplate. There's like a little lip it goes in at the front, and then it just lines up. So I'll get my little pot of screws and just start putting the screws in. So like I said, there's a load of screws that hold this base plate on, and they all screw into the chassis, and this base plate is a really strong thick bit of metal, so this base plate really must add a load of strength to this old receiver. And once it is bolted back on, this Pioneer will be really strong again. There won't be no flex in the chassis once this base plate's all screwed on. So let me just put this last screw in, and then I shall turn it back over and we'll put the top on. So that's it, all the screws in the base plate. The Pioneer is back with all its strength. So I should turn it back over and then put the cabinet back on it. So it just drops on this wooden cabinet, and then it's got like that little lip you can see at the front, which just locks into the faceplate, and that's it. 2 screws this side, 2 screws the other side. And then the old Pioneer is more or less back together. And then I shall get me little packet of me knobs that I bought and see what they are like, because I haven't even opened them yet. They are sitting in a bag over there. So I'll get them out, and hopefully there's 2 silver ones that I bought. They should sort of look alright on this Pioneer. I think they are a bit similar to the knobs that are on it. Not the same, I know they are not the correct knobs, but they should look better on it than having no knobs on it. We shall find out. Once I get this back together, I'll get that little packet of knobs, and then we start putting all the knobs and the switches back on the front of it and see what it looks like. So that's the last screw going into the cabinet, and then all I've got to do is put the little voltage regulator in the back, the little voltage changer. Now put that in, and I'm setting it to 240 because I am in the UK and that is the power that we use. So that's it, the voltage changer is back in, nice and tight, and then I should turn it round so you can see the front, and then I'll go and get my little packet of new knobs, and we shall have a look at what I actually bought and see what they look like on this old receiver. So this is them here in this little bag. I haven't even opened them yet. So let's see what I actually got. 4 knobs, that's them there. So them silver two, they are the ones that I thought would be good for this Pioneer, because they are a pair. And I've got this one. I don't know what that is. That could even be off an old Sugden amplifier. It looks the right colour. I'm not sure about that one. That is off something really old. I don't know what that knob has come off. Got no idea. But it's these two. I don't know what they are off. But they will look better on this Pioneer than having no knobs on it. And they'll do until I can track down the proper knobs. So that is a proper one. And you can see they are a similar size. It's just that the Pioneer ones have got the shaped sides. They are just round. So let's put them on and see what it's actually going to look like with these knobs on it. So that's the tuning one on. Pop the selector one on. Speaker select and on-off switch. Volume knob. Balance, pop that one on. Treble, now this is one of the random knobs. Put it on the treble and I'll put the other random one beside it. So there you go, that is it with the 2 random knobs on it. It looks alright actually, but you know what, I'm going to change them about. I think it'd look better if them 2 random ones were on the on-off switch and the function selector. So I'm going to change them over. So the 2 random ones that I got are both on the outside. So let's pop one onto the function. Take the other one off and put it onto the on-off. And then that gives me 3 original Pioneer knobs that are all the same size, that do balance, treble and the bass, and then one of them original Pioneer knobs is a little bit smaller. I'm going to put that one on the volume. Right, so let's just spin these 2 over. Put that one on the balance because it is the same size as the treble and the bass knobs, and then put the smaller one on the volume. Yeah, that looks better like that. I'm happier with it like that. That looks alright actually. So my little bargain bag of knobs has worked out well. They look alright on that Pioneer. So let's put the little caps back on all the switches. And then that's it. This lovely old Pioneer will be back together. And then I shall whack a couple of speakers on it, put a power lead on it, and then I shall turn it on and see what this Pioneer actually does. Because I have not powered this up yet since I have had it. I always like to go through them and give them a service first when I've bought these non-working amplifiers. Well, I'm saying I didn't buy this one. My missus bought this one and this was my Christmas present. But it's still the same, because we bought it as a non-working one. I like to go through them first and just make sure they are safe to power up. Because I have bought them before where the seller has said, powers up no problem, just needs a service or whatever. And then when I plugged it in, I've done damage to the amplifier because it had parts missing out of it and it wasn't safe to plug it in. So I always go through them now because I have had it in the past where I plugged them straight in and just done more damage to them because the seller was full of it. So never trust what the seller says. And now I do know that there are a lot of sellers out there that tell 100% the truth on their items. But it's hard to tell the difference between one of them and someone who is a bit dodgy. So every amplifier or receiver I buy now that is non-working, I just always go through it first. So let's get down my little Bowers and Wilkins solid speakers, because they have got cables already on them. And let's put them in the back of this Pioneer and then put a power lead on it. So that's that one connected up. Let's just go across and get down the other one. There you go, get down the other speaker, stand that one on the table, and then I shall connect this speaker wire up, and then I've got a power lead sitting here ready to plug in. Right, so that's that one connected up. Let's get a power lead. Right, so I'll plug in the power lead and then get the other end and plug it into the back of the Pioneer. There we go. Right, so let's see what this old Pioneer does. Oh, look at that, it's working. Lovely. Look, working and all lit up, but I hadn't turned it on. Right, so there is a problem with the on-off switch. It is stuck on, so that will need looking at. It does not turn off, so it is stuck permanently on, which is better than it being stuck permanently off. But I will have to have a look at that another day, because that is not right. But at least this Pioneer has got some life in it, so let's see if I can get any sound out of it now. And with this one, the seller did say on the listing that it does power up. So he was telling the truth, it does power up. But there was no mention of the fact that it doesn't power off. And you'd know that if you tested this thing out before you listed it, you would know instantly that you cannot turn it off. So that is what I am saying, never trust a seller. So let's see if we can tune something in. Here we go, here we go. Try it on that side. Yeah, balance is working good that side. Balance is working good both sides. So that's working like a good on both channels. Working lovely on that. Oh, nice. So the Pioneer has got both channels going. Oh, so that's good then. My Christmas present Pioneer is back in action and working on both channels. And I know you can't turn it off, but that is not the end of the world. I'm just really happy that it's working and both channels are working. And the fact that you can't turn it off is not a problem. I will just have to leave it on and have the lovely sounds of the vintage Pioneer SX750 playing all day long. Now I should just turn it off at the plug socket. I've had that before with a power amp. I had a power amp for years and the on-off switch was broken and I couldn't get one, and all I did was turn it on and off at the socket. So I'll have to do that with this Pioneer, but I will get round to having a look at the on-off switch on it, but I shall do that another day. At the minute I'm just really happy that my Christmas Pioneer is back in action. and it does look like the faceplate is lighting up. It looks like the orange bulbs are actually working, because it was listed as the face doesn't light up properly, but it does look like that is all working. Let me turn the lights off and you see if you can see it better. And we'll see if these function lights are working, because apparently some of them don't work. But that's working. FM, phono. See, that's all working good, them function lights. So this Pioneer is working nice. The face is all lit up. The only problem with it is the dodgy on-off switch. But that really is not a problem, because all that means is that I will have to listen to my lovely old vintage Pioneer forever, because I cannot turn it off. So thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.